Racing Point F1 team have been a central talking point in the world of Formula One lately, and this is for two main reasons. The first one is because of their massive rise in competitiveness due to some interesting tactics with the car, obviously very closely copying the design of the 2019 championship winning Mercedes, has generated a lot of controversy about whether it's legal or not legal. And the second reason is their very tasty driver situation. So right now there are three drivers, Sebastian Vettel, Sergio Perez, and Lance Stroll, who make a great case to drive for what is then going to be called Aston Martin in 2021, but obviously they can only field two drivers, so either Perez or Stroll will not have a drive, they will be booted out of Racing Point, or Sebastian Vettel will not get that seat. It is very competitive. One of them will definitely lose out in this situation. So in this video, I am going to talk about these three drivers, the pros and cons of them driving for Aston Martin in 2021, and ultimately which driver lineup makes the most sense for the team, and also which one most realistically will be their lineup for 2021. So like I said, Aston Martin's driver situation is very complicated at the moment. We have three drivers competing for two seats. Obviously, the first one is Sergio Perez, who has been the team's flagship driver for the last half a decade or so. He's just been a very solid, consistent midfield driver that's really done a lot for the team. So he's a very established guy in there. Second of all, you have their second driver in this current 2020 season, who is Lance Stroll. He's obviously a very controversial and divisive figure in Formula One. A lot of people rate him no higher than an average pay driver. He is only at the team because his dad, Lance Stroll, a billionaire, owns Aston Martin. And then finally, you have Sebastian Vettel, the four-time world champion, who is obviously leaving Ferrari at the end of this season. So he is on the driver market. He has been linked heavily to this team, and yeah, he's the one that's basically started all of these rumors and created all of this instability. So I'm going to look at all of these three drivers. Sergio Perez: loyalty, consistency, and continuity. Sergio Perez has been the face of Racing Point for the last 5 years. The 30-year-old Mexican has driven for the team since 2014 and has gained the reputation for being a very solid, consistent midfield driver who always gets the job done, always gets those consistent results. And he's even thought of to be one of the most underrated F1 drivers on the grid. Maybe he is even more than a midfield driver. We don't know truly how good he is because in his career, in his 8 or 9 year career, he has never been at a top team. Despite this, has still managed to get 8 podiums in underperforming cars. So there's no doubt this guy is quite good. Perez certainly makes a great case, and kicking him out of the team would mean that Racing Point are really losing a very talented, quality, consistent driver that's really given them a lifeline in these last few seasons. Lance Stroll: future potential and family ties. The second driver I'm going to be talking about is Lance Stroll, and as I said earlier, he is a very controversial driver in Formula One, and without his very unique situation, he would not at all be involved with Racing Point. Obviously, he is son of billionaire team owner of Racing Point, Lance Stroll. Most people would dismiss Stroll as an average pay driver with absolutely no talent. However, I think a bit more highly of him. I think he's not the best driver out there, but I think he's someone with potential. He's very young, so later in his career, if he continues to develop, he can develop into a solid and consistent midfield driver, at best a really good driver like we've seen with Sergio Perez. But the problem is that is a future. That is a long time away. He is only 21 years old right now. He will still need a lot more time to develop into that driver. As of now, from what we've seen so far, he is nowhere near that level yet. 2019, it was very average from him. It was average. It was not really that good, not really that bad. It was average. And if Aston Martin want to be a major player in the world of Formula One, which I'm sure Lance Stroll intends to do, they cannot be signing average drivers for their team. They cannot bank on Lance Stroll's future potential alone. And keeping a driver like Stroll could send the wrong message to everyone else in the Racing Point / Aston Martin team that this is more of the Lance Stroll family racing business rather than a fully fledged works Formula One team. That is my main concern with keeping Stroll. So the only way I see this making sense, the only way I see Stroll actually proving that he's good enough for the seat on merit is if he convincingly outperforms Perez in this 2020 season, or in the short period of races before the signing decision has to ultimately be made. And he would have to convincingly beat Perez, drive the races of his life, and Perez would have a shockingly bad string of races for this to happen. And you know what? I wouldn't call it completely out of the question, because so far, Stroll's definitely stepped it up. His last race in Hungary, P4, that was a very solid result. Beat his teammate in qualifying, beat him in the race. So, if he continues, this can even improve from there. You never know what's going to happen, but so far, at the time of recording, July 30th, 2020, Lance Stroll is the worst driver out of these three, and frankly, if Racing Point are serious, I don't think they should be keeping him. Sebastian Vettel, difference maker or dwindling driver? This situation in the first place was caused by this man right here, Sebastian Vettel. Earlier this year, he announced that after 5 years, he would be leaving Scuderia Ferrari at the end of the 2020 season. And this decision sent shockwaves rippling down the entire Formula One grid. He has been linked to just about every team you can think of. Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, Haas, everywhere. But most recently, he has been linked to Racing Point, obviously Aston Martin in the future. And these rumors have been increasingly frequent and prevalent with each passing day. And honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if a deal has already been done between the two parties. It's not every day that a 4-time world champion and 53-time race winner pops up on the driver market, and Racing Point have a genuine opportunity to be landing a top driver in Sebastian Vettel. And this would also be great for the marketing of the team. Aston Martin landing one of the biggest drivers in Formula One that could really take them to new heights and be a statement of intent to the rest of the teams. But therein lies the problem. Let's go back to the phrase I said at the start. Difference maker or dwindling driver? Could Sebastian Vettel be the driver that, this top driver that will make this difference and help them push the top to win races and championships? Or what a lot of people are saying, is he not the driver he once was? Is he not a shell of his former self? And there is a bit of basis to this because, 4-time world champion, 53 race winner, sounds well and good on the surface, but he hasn't won a world title since 2013 with Red Bull, and his wins have dried up as of late, and also he got beaten by Charles Leclerc in 2019. Mistakes have been more prevalent. I could go on and on about this, so it just comes down to, do you think Sebastian Vettel is the driver he once was? How good is he at this moment in time? Well, for me, I think that he may not be at the tip-top 4-time world champion level he was at with Red Bull, but I think he's still very close, 90-95% at least. So I think all of this Vettel washed-up rumors is complete falsehood. I don't think this is all false. I think that a lot of it is down to Ferrari. I think Vettel will have a lot to give coming to Aston Martin. It will be like a rebirth of a driver. So now I've looked at all three drivers, and the two questions left to be answered here are, which lineup, which combination of those three drivers makes the most sense for Aston Martin in 2021, and which one will be the most realistic, which one I think will be the actual lineup that they end up going with in 2021, because obviously those could be different. So in terms of which lineup makes the most sense for Racing Point, well, if you're a Formula One team like Racing Point, you want to bridge the gap to the top teams, have very big ambitions for the future, they're going to need the best results possible. That's a given. And to do that, they will need the best drivers that they can possibly get, because obviously the drivers are a very big influencing factor in your results. That goes without saying. And in this case, out of these three drivers, the two best drivers, without a doubt, are Sebastian Vettel and Sergio Perez. Fielding a lineup of that caliber, that level of skill, and that experience, I mean, it would just massively help a team like Racing Point, who previously have struggled to attract top talent. Obviously, they've been regarded as more of a midfield team, just trying to scrap with what they have. And Perez and Vettel would easily be the second or third best lineup on the grid after Mercedes, obviously, and it would just give the team a big boost and be, just a statement of intent by Lawrence Stroll and Otmar Safnauer that we, Racing Point / Aston Martin, we are a team with big ambitions. We are not playing around here. We intend to be winning titles, championships, races, all of that stuff, and we have the drivers to do it. On the flip side, it would be quite hard on Lance Stroll because I think in this 2020 season, we've seen a solid string of performances from the young Canadian, and it could be a sign of him finally taking the strides that he needs to be a pretty solid midfield driver in Formula One. It would be quite hard, for Lawrence Stroll to kick his own son out. I wouldn't want to be in the room having that conversation, but ultimately, a team like Racing Point, I think to win, they need to send that right message to all of their competitors. We need to win ruthlessly by any means possible. And if you were to keep Stroll because of the family ties, I think that would be just send a sense of weakness and softness that, Racing Point do have a weak link, and it's something that other teams can take advantage of. And like I said, Racing Point pride themselves on making the best possible results with what they have available for them. That should not change despite the budget cap, despite having a bit more money. They should keep that same attitude towards winning. In terms of which lineup they will most realistically have, which lineup I'm predicting they will have, based on what we've heard so far and my gut instinct, it just tells me that their lineup will be Vettel and Stroll. I think Stroll, for me, is almost guaranteed to stay, simply because, his dad is the owner of the team. I can talk all I want about Racing Point being ruthless and, just doing what they need to do to win. That's easier said than done, though. Even Sergio Perez, the guy in the hot seat, he said himself that he wouldn't kick out his own son. And obviously that makes sense. Lawrence Stroll has already invested so much into Lance's journey into Formula One. Obviously, Lawrence's ambitions are a bit bigger than that by now, but I'm sure his son's career obviously does have something to do with that. So I ultimately think that Stroll will be kept as, their second driver, and I think it will be Vettel that replaces Perez at Racing Point, because I think it's just too much, to give up on. If you're keeping Perez for the loyalty and what he's done for the team, that is good. He's a solid driver, but, Sebastian Vettel, it's not every day a driver like that is on the market. I think Racing Point should snap up that opportunity, and a lineup of Vettel and Stroll, I guess it's not ideal, but at the same time, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I think Lance will keep improving and learning under a guy, an experienced and very skilled driver like Vettel. That will help him massively. So it's not as strong as a lineup of Vettel and Perez. That's like the ultimate for Racing Point. But if they, keep copying Mercedes in next year in 2021 and nail the regulations, which I think they certainly will do, and the budget cap, obviously, I think they can still be a team that will be pretty competitive regardless of what lineup they have. So guys, that's going to do it on this video on Aston Martin / Racing Point's driver lineup for 2021. So I think it obviously makes the most sense for Perez and Vettel to be at the team in 2021 because they are the best drivers. But realistically speaking, in terms of realisticness, I think that it will be ultimately Vettel and Stroll that are their 2021 lineup. But guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like this video, hit that subscribe button. We're almost at 500, which is very, very, very awesome. And yeah, comment your opinions down below. Which drivers do you think Racing Point should have? And yeah, submit all of your predictions for their lineup. Looking forward to reading all of that. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.